Today, our guest is lawyer Rashid Hajili. Welcome to our studio. Thank you. Apple addressed to European Court of Human Rights on violation of freedom of assembly in 2007. European Court of Human Rights has already concluded communications and it will issue judgment on this case. European Court of Human Rights offered Azerbaijan government to reach agreement promptly. What's this current situation? Can agreement be reached between European Court of Human Rights and the Azerbaijan government? In May 2007, a journalist appealed to local courts with a claim of violation of freedom of assembly. All hearing process on this case was conducted in local court. In my mind, Sabah District Court, Appeals Court, and Supreme Court of Azerbaijan Republic issued ungrounded judgment on this case. Correspondence between applicants and European Court of Human Rights has already concluded. Azerbaijan government offered friendly peace for journalists. Azerbaijan government said that they don't recognize violations up to date. As representatives of 8 journalists, I explained the entire context, the point of the matter, and which measures they can take and results for them. I'm expecting their decision. Did journalists discuss this problem? Information on this issue is published in media that journalists have difference of opinion. Coverage of this issue, which is solved friendly media, is a rare issue in practice. These issues are solved confidentially. Applicants are journalists and they want to cover this issue in media. I requested them to be attentive in the discussion of this issue. I also requested them to protect confidentiality of this issue. I talked to each of them via telephone except Ganimat Zahid. They did not give information regarding their decision. I requested them to make decision jointly. They did not tell me about difference of opinion. I don't have information that articles on difference of opinion are being published in media. Who complained about it? There were a lot of journalists during the picket. However, there were 8 journalists who complained about illegal hindrance of police. They are Mehman Aliyev, news agency director, the Azadlik newspaper editor-in-chief Ganimat Zahidov, the journalist Shahvalad Namazov, the Yeni Musavat newspaper editor-in-chief Rauf Arifoglu, and this paper staff Azer Ayhan, Zabil Mugapiloglu, Elshad Mamedli, and Etibar Seydaga appealed to European Court of Human Rights. How much money is envisaged in the friendly offer? I don't intend to discuss this issue. It is right that journalists spoke about it, but I think that I should not discuss this. According to media, there are 40,000 euro truce payment that Azerbaijan government has suggested for 8 journalists. Unless one of the journalists agrees with this compensation, will European Court of Human Rights issue judgment on this case? If all journalists disagree with this money and cannot prove that government's offer is ungrounded, European Court of Human Rights can seize consideration of this case and can suggest for 8 journalists be agree with government's offer. If defendant sides agree with this, European Court of Human Rights will continue case consideration. If European Court of Human Rights issues judgment on freedom of assembly, can this create case law for Azerbaijan? International organizations released statements, reports on hindrance against freedom of assembly in Azerbaijan after 2003. Can this create case law? There was a fair chance to consider the case on freedom of assembly in the European Court of Human Rights. Regretfully, the European Court of Human Rights did not realize it. European Court of Human Rights issued judgment on the case of prisoners arrested in 2003. I was a representative of Rauf Arifoglu. We expected that European Court of Human Rights would consider case and issue judgment on violation of freedom of assembly. However, the judge recognized the violation of fair judgment law. However, European Court of Human Rights did not consider and discuss the case on the peaceful assembly. European Court of Human Rights will consider the case on freedom of peaceful assembly and issue judgment. If European Court of Human Rights issues judgment on this case regarding freedom of peaceful assembly, government should consider the law on freedom of peaceful assembly and practice again. European Court of Human Rights Committee of Ministers supervises measures taken by government. In my mind, if European Court of Human Rights issues judgment, this decision will improve the situation of freedom of peaceful assembly in Azerbaijan. It should be noted that some of the reporters agreed to frame the terms of the officials. However, setting a precedent in such materials is essential. This is the first decision of the Court of Human Rights on freedom of assembly in Azerbaijan. The adoption of positive verdict for the press can put an end to violations of journalists' rights with regard to freedom of assembly, speech, and the right to a fair trial. Thank you for coming to our studio. Today, our guest was lawyer Rashid Hajili. Thank you.